I would like to announce a new partnership with a company that's been on top of the game for a long time and provides centuries of experience to customers all over. I'm proud to say that Shotgun Sports USA has teamed up with Beretta USA as a sponsor of the podcast. We're excited about this and look forward to bringing you a new segment to every show called Tips with the Pros, featuring Team Beretta athletes.
Coming to you from the U.S. and streaming all over the world, this is Shotgun Sports USA. Get accurate, reliable information in every single episode, with interviews from the best shooters in the game, the best gun clubs across the globe, and industry-leading companies that revolutionize the sport. Be sure to check us out on social media and online at shotgunsportsusa.com. Shotgun Sports USA is powered by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend, and brought to you by Cole Gunsmithing, Castellani USA, Chromatic Traps, Clay Target Vision, Sound Gear Phantom, and Clay Shooter Supply. Welcome to the show.
Tips with the Pros, brought to you by Beretta USA.
Hi, I'm Zach Keenbaum, professional shooter with Team Beretta. I think a really good tip I can give a lot of shooters is the mechanics of the shot. Again, it's a pretty simple concept. It's nothing too crazy, but realize using our hands too much in the shot is only going to cause problems. Our hands are what gets nervous. Our hands are what gets fast. The game is about matching the speed of the target with the gun. And I think it's important people realize that we want to set our feet to our kill point. We want to rotate our body back to our hold point, and all lateral movement, right to left, left to right, is 100% done with rotation of our body. No, we want to take our hands completely out of the shot. In addition to that, if it's a rising target, we want to make sure we stand up very straight. And a lot of times I feel that move kind of in my lower back. I'm standing up tall with the target on a riser. In any dropping target, I'm bowing at the hips. I'm moving with my entire body, but bowing at the hips on any dropping target. Again, getting our hands out of the shot as much as we can. When you watch these pro shooters or just shooters that are really good, people comment of how smooth they are. They're smooth because of what I've described. They're moving the gun with their body and not their hands.
My guest on the show today has been on with me a couple of times, but this time it's different. He talks about target setting his way, the big blast that's about to step foot into Georgetown, South Carolina for the first time, how super squads should be the new norm, and much more. This is a really informative episode with one of the most respected men in the sport. Please welcome to the show, Rick Hemingway. All right, Rick Hemingway, thanks for coming back on.
Glad to be here, Justin. How you tonight?
I'm good. How's 23 going for you so far?
It's absolutely great. 2021 I thought was as good as Backwoods and Rick Hemingway could ever be. 2022 outdid that by large margin. And looks like 2023 is going to maintain what we did in 2022, I hope. I think that all your listeners will agree with me that we are probably not a Biden fan, but I really don't know why we complaining as business owners, because we're as busy as we ever was. But I think we all agree that we'd like to have a different president by all means, but at the same time, it's hard to complain with the way business is at the present time. We actually would like to see a slow time, to be honest with you. We normally, sometime during the year, we'll have a couple of months break at Backwoods, but with the aspects of my business, whether it's clay target shooting or whether it's one of our hunting lines that we offer, or selling chromatic traps, or setting courses or renting traps, which all different things that I do. There's no downtime anymore. It's 24/7 just about.
I didn't think you would say anything any different than that. Seems like every time I talk to you always have a good attitude about something. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty honest and straightforward, and I don't mind calling a spade a spade. That's the way I was grown up and taught, and I'm gonna give you my honest opinion, whether you like it or not. We'll argue that point, but I go to bed every night with a clear conscience, and that's the only way I know to go through life, is being honest and pretty straightforward what you do every day.
Yeah. You mentioned Promatic a minute ago. I know you're the largest Promatic dealer. How's your Promatic business doing?
It continues to get better and better each year, Justin. I never dreamed that we could sell 40 traps a month on average. It's just incredible. I mean, I don't know where they all go. It seems like there'll be a junk pile full of traps somewhere in this country, but every day the phone rings. Sometime during the day, somebody's call, wanting a price, a quote, an estimate, or want me to come make a site visit, or they just want to order over the phone. So, I think the youth are driving it. The private sector is driving it. We do a lot of private courses and 5 stands. I did 7 courses last year, which is a outstanding year. Besides all the 5 stands and the hobby shooters or the youth shooters, where the parents are buying a couple traps for little Johnny to practice on, but instead of having to make a trip. Some of them live a considerable distance from a commercial gun club, so they have to be able to get the youth some practice. They buy their personal traps, and as just like all parents, and I'm included, I always want our kids to be the best at whatever they do, and parents seem to find means to be able to provide them the best opportunity. And so the youth have been a driving force the last few years, and it continues to grow. From a throwing target standpoint, all clubs pretty much are benefiting from youth programs, as well as people like me who sell traps, and obviously instructors are seeing more hours of lessons being requested now than they ever have before. So it's good for the whole industry and the whole sport, to be honest with you, and it's the future. So it's the youth is great, but the private sector, as I referred to, is everybody wants their own shooting venue now.
Yeah.
So we aim to please. We'll be glad to accommodate them.
You brought up youth, and it made me think of the Junior U.S. Open that you hold. Where did that come from, and who is allowed to shoot on that Junior U.S. Open? Is it anybody? Or
just a little bit of background. Myself and 3 or 4 more kind of started the South Carolina Youth Shooting Foundation in South Carolina some years ago. We were, at that time, the only organized youth organization was SCTP, and they had their national championship in Sparta, Illinois at that time. At that time, sporting clays in the youth programs was not as popular as it is today, and skeet and trap was dominant. Well, they would ask us to come in to shoot sporting clays on like Wednesday and Thursday, or maybe it's been Thursday and Friday perhaps, and then the whole grounds was taken over by skeet and trap youth for Saturday and Sunday, and you kind of had to stay around the Sunday to do the awards from sporting events. Well, we did that for a few years as a state association. Several teams from South Carolina traveled out there to compete, and we had a great time doing it, but we saw the opportunity to have our own state organization, and that's when we formed South Carolina South Carolina Youth Shooting Foundation, and now they have, I'm not on the board anymore, but they are averaging close to 800 youth participating in one-day events 5 times a year, which is incredible. Well, as I saw all this happening, I said, why are we going somewhere else to compete when we have this many youth in South Carolina competing? Why don't I try to capture that market and let the out-of-staters come to us, so to speak. So I created the the Junior U.S. Open, and it's done totally for youth. I have offered some coaches events, just kind of a fun event, just as some of the coaches got on me about them in withdrawals, being there 3 or 4 or 5 days and not having anything to shoot. So I've offered some coaching events, but the whole thing is to make youth the center of attention. We go to the NSCA US Open, the NSCA Regionals, NSCA State Championships, the NSCA Nationals. The youth are rewarded, but it's really they don't get the attention I feel like they deserve. When we're trying to get them involved in the sport, the parents want to see their kids recognized. The award ceremonies at NSA events is poorly attended nowadays, which is sad. I think that's a drawback to our sport, but it is what it is. Everybody's in a hurry to get there, but they're always in a hurry to go home. So with that said, there's not a lot of people around for the awards. So there's, with NSCA, they're just, you got master class shooters and sub juniors, you got E class and sub juniors. They do break some of it out at nationals, but at these normal NSCA events, the youth don't have a good chance of winning some type of award unless they do it in their lettered class, perhaps. So I just saw the opportunity to make them center of attention. We do a 100-bird prelim on Friday, which we've now opened up on Thursday to be able to accommodate the number of youth, and we do a 200-bird main, and we take them from 5th grade to 12th grade, and we even offer collegiate divisions. We give away some type of item for everyone who attends as a door prize, whether it's a case of shells. We give over 30 guns away every year. So every bit of the proceeds pretty much go back to giveaways. And they just don't get that attention at any other event in the country, to be honest with you, like that, so to speak. And it's not, the SCTP Nationals now has grown, and it's a great event. They get upwards of 3,000 kids at the event every year up in at the Cardinal Center in Ohio. But it's so big and so much moving parts there with skeeting, trap, and sporting, and all the different events they got there. You kind of lose the home environment, so to speak, the roomy environment or the closeness that the Junior U.S. Open creates. It averages about 500 youth per year, and I'm happy with that number. And anybody can attend from anywhere around the country. It's open to anyone. We do it by grade levels. 11th and 12th is varsity. 9th and 10th is considered junior varsity. 8th and 7th and 8th is intermediate, and 6th grade and under are considered rookies. So it's just a great event that I'm very proud of creating, and it's probably the most rewarding event that I host each year.
So they don't have to be registered with NSCA to shoot it. It don't matter what they're.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Interesting. I like that. I know you've been. You just got finished with the Florida Challenge, which is always a good tournament to attend. How was that for you down there?
Oh, it was a great event. Pat Welch and Danny Stefanelli, they do a great job. They are all about what they can do for the shooters. It's a shame that the event isn't better attended. They just, they're on the tail end of the Florida schedule. When they've shot South Florida, Vero Beach, and then Jack Links, they've been hit for 3 or 4 good weeks in a row there. And unfortunately, Bradford's is kind of off the beaten path. Gainesville being, 35 minutes away, I think it is probably the ideal place to stay and for meals and lodging. With all that said, it's just a shoot that's overlooked, I think. They do a great job. It had 220-something entries this year, but it's just a great event, and I enjoy working every year. I've worked every multi-day event that Pat's ever had down there, and been fortunate enough to shoot a few events down there over the years and win that a couple of times, and that's always exciting because a lot of times they're setting a lot of the targets, and I don't have to set as much, so I get to shoot while I'm there too, which is a bonus for me being there and providing traps as well. Um, but anyway, that's it was a good trip. I had a couple employees with 70 plus traps down at Jack Links the week before. Um, and then we moved up to and did the Florida Challenge, and now we're home this week and getting ready for the Gator Cup, and then I'm on the road Sunday to head up to the East Coast Championship at Mike Oliver's place at Washington, North Carolina, and work there that week, and then I get back Sunday night, and we kick off the Gator Cup that Monday. So it's a busy, busy, busy time in Rick's world, but that's the way we like it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got a big tournament coming to you at Backwoods this year, and it is the Gator Cup. It's the middle of March for those that don't know. It's always been one of my favorite tournaments to attend. When it was at Quail Creek, Cherokee Rose, now it's at Backwoods, and with the size of your place, I'm sure it's going to be there to stay. What's in store for the people attending this year at the Gator Cup, and what may be different, or is it the same?
Well, the Gator Cup's going to be a little different than it has been in the past, I'm sure. Quail Creek, where it was originally started, has significant acreage and room, but I don't know they utilize as much room as they could have. And obviously Cherokee Rose did a great job. I worked that shoot. I set targets. The courses to set on was phenomenal. But it's a 500-person venue. 500 or 600 people is maxes it out. And like I say, nothing against Cherokee Rose, because absolutely Double D and Gene are doing a fabulous job there. And it's one of the most beautiful courses you ever shoot. The room that I have in comparison and the room that we will utilize for the Gator Cup is incredible. I just had the U.S. Open last year. We utilized somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 acres for the U.S. Open, and we're going to do the same for the Gator Cup. So even though that we won't have but half the size crowd of about 750 to 800 people, we will utilize just as much room, which allows everyone to be spread out, shouldn't ever be congested. You get a lot of different looks. You allow the target setters a lot more room to throw anything they want without being, congested between stations or the size openings on the stations. We've got a pretty large venue and a pretty large, great place to set targets, I guess I should say. But we're going to kick off on Tuesday with fee task. Doing a 100 bird fee task. We're doing 100 bird super sporting. We're doing 50 birds in the 12 gauge, 20, 28, and 410 events. We've added a new event that I'm not sure has ever been done or not. Kind of something I had thought of and decided to do it. It may have been done before, but I'm offering a sub gauge super sporting event. So on Saturday and Sunday, we're changing the sub gauge normal sporting event to 20 and 28 gauge super sporting event, which I'm excited about. And I think that's something new that will take off around the country and be popular. Super sporting right now is probably a number 2 event at all majors for attendance. So with that said, I decided to offer sub gauge super sporting. And then we're doing a Thursday 100 bird prelim. It'll be shot over in the area where we shot fee task for the U.S. Open, which is wide open pasture land. Eric Dorsey will be setting that event, and I expect you'll see some very, very exceptional quality birds on that event, as well as that same venue, that same course layout will be a main for Saturday and Sunday. So expect big things out of Eric Dorsey on that grounds with as much room as he got to work with there. We got Mike Luongo coming in. He will set Friday's prelim, the green course, and he will set the green course main. Evan Sharp, who's used to be the manager of Hyatt's Farms in North Carolina, came to work for me full time now, and he's be setting the Thursday prelim. I'm setting fee task and the competition 5 stand. Ben Wise and Luongo will double team the sub gauge course, and Zach from Forest City will set super sporting. So we've got all that going on. We've got the make a break shootout, the $10,000 shootout that's been sponsored by Kohler and Elite Shotguns. and that'll be the entertainment Saturday night after dinner. We will do a show of the guns as well as the make or break shootout for the top 16 who qualify all week long for that, and that's always good fun and a lot of excitement to see that on Saturday night. We have the annual prime rib dinner that Fred and Maria have always provided for that event. So we expect that to be good. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, a quite overview of it. We've added some new stations on one of the courses that's never been shot on before. We're shooting FITAS that's been shot years ago in that area, but kind of moved it around just to change it up from what people are accustomed to. But I suggest they bring their golf carts full of gas because they're going to need it all because we're going to do some riding from between events for sure. But everything's looking good, Justin. This is about as early as I've had a shoot, which kind of cramps my style right now. We're doing 45 to 50 quail hunts a week, and putting this shoot on top of that has been demanding on my employees, and very thankful to have a great staff that continue to step up and provide extra hours and go over and beyond for backwoods and the the ryegrass we planted this winter is really greened up, so everything's looking really good for the Gator Cup. The Bradford pear trees are just started blooming out, which is a little early for them, but we've had 80-degree days for the last 2 weeks, so should be a very pretty time of year to host the event. The extended forecast looks pretty decent right now as far as you can tell. We're looking at the mid 70s and the 60s at night, so that's about as good as we could ask for at this point in the game anyway.
Yeah, you're talking about doing the first one to do a 28 gauge super sport course. You are also the first one in recent times to do a super squad at your shoot, the U.S. Open you had last year, and that carried on into nationals, and which was live streamed, and now the U.S. Open this year is doing a super squad, and I don't think it's going to change. I think it's going to stay. I think the super squad's here to stay. What do you think about that?
I agree wholeheartedly with it. It's really good for the sport. It's been, I'm not so sure I didn't years ago at a state shoot, or maybe back when the regionals used to be called Zone 4 championships. I did something like that in the past. I can't remember. So that's always been in the back of my mind of how to make that work. And Anthony's always been adamant about trying to get that started. So last year's U.S. Open, I pulled it off and got it to work. It wasn't 100%, wasn't perfect, but we made it work. But it didn't create the excitement that I had hoped for. But the Nationals, it did exactly what it was designed to do. It was a lot of excitement on Sunday, which is, it's. And I started for a number of reasons. Number one, to keep the top shooters, and there's always shooters that won't make the cut that's got a chance of winning, but you got to draw the line somewhere. So try to get the top 25, a top 40, a top 50 on the same rotation at the same time, and finish up on Sunday afternoon last is not only good for the sport, but the clubs. When I had the U.S. Open 2013, I always had locals saying, should I go watch? Who's a good shooter? Blah, blah, blah. Well, it takes an act of Congress to go through the win score, scoring chaser, whichever system a club may be using at time. Back then it's win score. Now we all score chaser, and score chaser is great, but it's still an act of Congress to go through and figure out when Derek Mine's shooting, when Brandon Powell's shooting, what station they're starting on, what course they on. Gavin Miles, any of the top names that you may think of, where they're shooting, when they're shooting. So it's very difficult to tell a local who they should go watch, and when they get there, try to figure out who they're watching. Well, this eliminated that. I can tell everybody what station, what 5 or 6, 8 stations they need to be on at what time to see some of the best shooters we have in the country. So that was good for our sport, for the locals to be able to come out and see that. It's good for the top shooters to be able to have that pressure of seeing the fellow shooters shoot about the same numbers they're shooting, so that they can tell right there on the spot where they're behind on the scoreboard or they're ahead on the scoreboard. They can see it happen as it happens, instead of waiting to the end of the round to see how they fared, which adds more pressure and more excitement to them. I talked to Zach Hemingway, after the Super Squad at the U.S. Open here, and he says, Rick says, I think it was great. He says, but it changed my game. I saw he may have been shooting Corey Cruz or Kevin and Michael. I'm not sure who he was shooting with, but they may have attempted targets sooner than Zach normally would have, where they were doing it and doing it well, where it caused him to get caught up in the moment on a couple stations and shoot attempt targets where he would normally not have done so. So it's a learning curve for all the top shooters to get acclimated to that system and just tune out, what other shooters do and have their own game plan and do well at their game plan. So that's good for the sport. That's good for the shooters. It adds more pressure on them, even though you may or may not notice it as a spectator. The excitement at the end, like last year at Nationals with Brandon running Zach down. I mean, I was monitoring both shooters as a spectator. Okay, Brandon's one behind, or Zach's one behind, whatever it may have been. I mean, it was changing station to station. When then other people started keying in. So you were seeing shooters, some of the younger generation especially, run up and down the line. The running back tell them, well, Brandon missed one here. He ran this station. Same for Zach. So that excitement that it created it's never been seen before. I mean, not what I experienced. I don't know how many people got the experience that I did, but it was some of the most exciting moments of the sport I've ever encountered personally. And a lot of it was done because the targets were set to quality, in my opinion. It was not a missing out shoot. It wasn't where they were running every single station. And that had a lot to do with it. And if the targets aren't set properly, it won't work. But that had a lot to do with it. But it's just I think it's great for the sport, and I would like to see it done even in the concurrent divisions as well, where you separated maybe whatever rotations last, the top shooters shoot on, then the rotation before might be the ladies, so that the spectators can watch all the different generations shoot. Whether it's the youth and, the sub-juniors and them, I'd like to see them, get the same opportunity to experience that excitement and pressure of the competition, which is what I think competition is designed to do.
Yeah. You brought up the targets were set perfect, and Joe Skulls set that course, and he did a really good job with it. I really enjoyed those targets. And over the past few months, I've had target setters on the show, and we've discussed the difficulty of targets at larger events like Nationals and the U.S. Open and what they thought about them and why they set certain things. And there's always complaints or talk when they're difficult from the overall majority of the shooters that, think they're difficult. But on the flip side, if they're too easy, they talk about that too. So how do we find common ground on fair targets, or how do we keep the majority of the people happy at tournaments, or can we? What's your take on that?
Justin, you got a deep subject now, buddy. There's just a lot of factors that go into it. I'm a firm believer that two things, I guess I'll say. One is anytime you're competing for a award or money, anytime you enter a competition to win something, you should earn it. It shouldn't be given to you. And I'm not saying if you set an easy course, it's given to you, because you still have to break them all. Mm-hmm. But I think Sporting Clays was originally designed to be a challenge of your ability to read targets and execute a plan to be able to hit those targets. It's not about score. If we want to shoot 100 straight, I think we should shoot skeet and trap. There's a game designed to do that. But Sporting Clays shouldn't be about score. It should be about how you finish in your class or your division. Myself, I'm there to win the whole shoot. Finishing second I can't say that I'm disappointed, but I'm not 100% satisfied, because I went to be the best on that given day or that given weekend or that given event. It doesn't always happen. I'm not a top shooter. I'm maybe in top 50. I don't know where I'm at, but I feel like I can win anywhere I shoot. And with that said, I want to be challenged. So I don't want to make a mistake that whether I flinch or whether I just choose to shoot the wrong bird first on a given pair and I miss one, So I do that a couple times when I have a flinch or whatever. Mine just goes blank and I lose a pair. I can easily be down 5 or 6 targets. Well, if I go to nationals and shoot any event out there, I'm out. I just well pack my bags up and go home. If I have in any 100 bird event out there, if in the first 3 or 4 stations I miss 5 or 6 targets, I just will save my shells, unless I just want to shoot for fun because I can't win. I'm gonna have to shoot a 98 or better in every event. I just don't think that's right. Personally, I know I'm a minority in that subject, but for nationals or regional event, I think that they need to be as challenging as Joe Skull's green course, if not even more difficult, personally. It's a regional or a national championship or U.S. Open championship should not be a place to satisfy a new shooter. That's my honest opinion. I just don't think that's the place for them. I think you've got fun type of weekly fun events at a 100 bird event at a course. It's a stepping stone, whether you're starting through the youth programs, is a starting point for shooters when they're young. If somebody's older getting into it, you've got the weekly fun shoots like I'm referring to as a way to then get acclimated to shooting competitions. And then you go into these, like the Florida Challenge last weekend, with very fair targets, but they weren't gimmies by any means, but they're a different scale than what a U.S. Open, a national championship, or a regional should be. I don't think those events should be set to satisfy the masses. I don't think that the shoot should be for the masses. It's like nationals. They're trying to get 2,000, 2,200 people there. They may want to get 5,000 on those grounds one time. I don't know the number, but that's not me. I'm for quality. You're charging a premium for these events. It's an expensive hobby. It costs a lot to travel, whether you're flying, renting cars, meals, lodging, ammo. Entry fees are pretty high at these events, major events I'm referring to, and I think you should get quality targets, meaning you should be challenged by the target setters. Now, with that said, a lot of the regionals go to venues that are played by politics, and you may not can go to a regional that has a venue that's capable of throwing quality targets. As we try to add more events to these majors, then you are reducing the amount of room these clubs have to accommodate all these events. Well, something's got to go lacking, So what happens is you're taking a real good 1.5 mile long course that gives you plenty of room to throw quality of birds, splitting it up and getting 2 courses out of it to be able to accommodate another event or add another day to an event. So all that comes into play, what a venue can actually provide. I'm fortunate here where I feel like I can throw quality. There's a lot of nice clubs around the country that can provide quality, but there's a lot of clubs that have majors that don't have that luxury. To accommodate all the events, they can't get what I call quality targets. They have to do the best they can what they have to work with. And with that said, you're going to have some lighting conditions where people who draw first rotation in the morning times where they start on a certain half of the course or a certain station, they had a big disadvantage because the targets don't show up well. When the sun gets up midday, it might be a great target, but at 8:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, when we could be starting to try to get the shooters in by 5:30 in the afternoon, the lighting conditions 8 o'clock in the morning is totally different as 5:30 in the afternoon, and vice versa. So somewhere there's going to be a disadvantage. Well, the older generation or somebody with some eyesight problems is not going to see some targets if they try to throw quality. So the clubs are limited to throwing much easier targets in those situations to be able to accommodate the shooters all day long and keep them visible. So that comes into play. And then you've got some people setting targets that never have seen what I consider to be quality birds. And again, I don't say that I'm perfect by any means, and I'm not saying what I call quality is quality to the next person. All I can tell you is what I believe. The U.S. Open, there's a lot of chatter about the U.S. Open, about the level of difficulty, and it was too hard. And I'll be the first to admit that I believe it was station 10 on the DT11 course was off a tower. It was a true pair station. It should have been reports. I proofed all the targets. I thought it was fine. I heard some shooters complain about it after day 2. I took Luongo's gun, said, carry me back to that station. While you right here, while you got your gun on the cart, I want to go shoot a pair. I went back there and shot a pair and broke both of them. I personally didn't have a problem with it. Some shooters complained about the board was in the way on the shooting stand. They couldn't shoot it as early as they wanted to. Well, I don't know that target setters are required to set targets for you to be able to shoot them where you want to shoot them. Was it a doable pair? Absolutely. Was it a touch over the top for everybody involved? I would have to agree, yeah. A report pair would have made it totally different. I couldn't have took the rack off of the board off the top of the shooting stand to allow you to shoot it quicker because I had a shot fall problem down the line. So that board was up there and left up there for that reason. But I still felt like you had time to shoot both targets. The next station after that had a long crosser. It was probably 15 yards farther than it was set. And my belief is a lawnmower hit that machine or something moved that machine at some point from the time I looked at it to the time the event started, and it was about 15 yards farther than it should have been. Why the tail end got moved or whether it got bumped with lawnmower, so we was cutting grass the day before every event started. So that was something that I should have caught. I didn't catch, but it was one of that crossing bird was 15 yards farther than it should have been. Other than that, I don't have any complaints for the whole event. If I had the U.S. Open again this year and only 500 people told me they were coming because of the type birds I set, I wouldn't change a thing. I want 500 people here to feel like they got their money's worth. It's not about having 1,500 people to Rick. I've got to throw targets to make a living. That's what I do. But when it comes to a major event, I want everybody to feel like they got their money's worth. I hope they have a good time here. That's what I want them to have. But it's not a fun shoot to me. A U.S. Open is a quality event that's designed to be challenging, and that's the way I believe, and that's the way I'll go to my grave believing, and that's the way it'll always be. But the truth of the matter is, the way our industry set up, I've set targets all over this country, Justin. I set targets in Montana every year. When I first went out there, probably 8 years ago, started setting at Gallatin Sporting Clays in Montana. They did not have a single machine that would tilt. All their machines would do was throw flat targets unless they put blocks under the wheels, which is where we all started. They were just about 10 years behind what everybody in the Southeast were doing. So to throw transition or compound type targets was something different for them. And they had never seen that before. When I got out there setting targets and they could not touch them, I'm telling you, it was basic targets that we would never be considered difficult in the Southeast, and they couldn't touch them. They thought it was the hardest thing in the world. So everywhere around the country is different. I set targets for the Washington State last year. Had a great time. The shooters enjoyed the shoot. It was a great venue, but it was small. And when it was small, I'm telling you, it was small. 30 acres approximately. We set fee task. We set sub gauge on Friday on half the course, prelim on the other half of the course, competition 5 stand, had a practice 5 stand, and I'm telling you, we did all this on 30 acres. Well, there's no way possible you can shoot on 30 acres and all the shots stay inside without keeping a lot of quartered and trap birds. You just can't throw a lot of crossers. You can't throw big, slow developing birds. It just won't allow that. Well, those people that shoot those type clubs, people that shoot clubs that only have one venue, one course versus having 2 or 3 courses where, for example, at Backwoods, I keep 2 15-station courses open every single day, 7 days a week. My green course is what I consider my recreational course. Every new shooter, every recreational shooter that never shoot, they bring the 870 pump out there or whatever they may bring, they can break quite a few targets. It is what we consider to be a recreational course. My orange course is U.S. Open quality 90% of the time, and all the my customers and shooters in this area have the luxury of being able to shoot that caliber of targets on every given day. Very few places around the country have that option because the club that they shoot at or their local club only has one course. Well, that one venue has to have the recreational shooters to keep the doors open. They cannot survive on competitive shooters, so setting quality targets for a shooter that wants to go practice for a U.S. Open or regionals cannot get a club can't set those quality targets when they only got one course. And that's the difference around the country, in my opinion, is that that's a big part of it anyway. Is a lot of shooters don't get the opportunity to practice the type birds that they should be seeing or saw at last year's U.S. Open, for example, because they have a club that's all woods and small openings, and there's no way to duplicate that if the club owner wanted to. And then you got target setters that set at a home club, but they don't venture out to these other clubs or big events or major events that to see the different type birds the other clubs are throwing. And if you don't travel around the country, and that's what has made me successful for 30 years, is traveling around to seeing what other clubs are doing that's working, what shooters like, and bringing it back to backwoods and duplicating it or using that input to make it better, or finding out what shooters didn't like or what a club made a mistake on and putting that on checklist for me not to do. All that's helped me to be successful and learn what I've learned. You can't go to college and learn what I've been able to learn in this industry. You just have to get out there and travel and do it, which comes at expense. But unfortunately, there's a lot of target setters in this country that are setting at local clubs that don't see what's happening in other places to learn by. To be honest with you, it's just a deep subject. But you got different levels back to skill, the level of difficulty. You got charity events, which are powder puff targets. Everybody's gonna break a lot. And it should be. You've got one-day fun shoots, NSCA registered, which is I think should be designed with new shooters, getting shooters introduced, and shooters having fun by breaking a lot of targets. And then you move on up to state championships. And a state championship, for example, you from Georgia, the level of targets I set in Georgia for your state championship are much, much more difficult than I would set at a Montana state shoot, or I've set in Alaska state shoot, California. You just don't, it's just a totally different geographics because of the caliber shooters you have. Georgia has one of the largest captive, the largest attendance of really, really good shooters. And a lot of it is because of the venues that Georgia has. In the Southeast, I think we throw more difficult birds consistently than anywhere in the country, especially in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. And I think that's made us better over the years, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that by expanding these clubs to allow more room to throw different type birds has allowed us to be more competitive on a national level, whether we're going overseas for Team USA. I think all that's become a factor in making us better shots and more competitive around the country. But again, is a lot of small states like Colorado or Utah, some of those, they don't have many venues to shoot at, and they do have a venue. It's a one-course venue, and those shooters are a major disadvantage if they come in the Southeast because of a level of difficulty that we're accustomed shooting here compared to what they're accustomed to shooting. It's not, when you look at the score chase and you look at what's going on around the country, and I do a lot of that, it's not that the shooters in certain areas are that much better than we are. It's the level of difficulty they're accustomed to shooting that's creating the higher scores. But as a target setter, I'm never setting a course to say I'm gonna keep you from hitting any single target. I'm never doing that. There's not a single station I set that won't be run by somebody, I believe. It's just a matter of who can do it the most. But I'm gonna test you in all aspects of your game. Whether it's on speed, I will put machines at extreme angles that most trap manufacturers wouldn't even want their machines at because they say they won't work. But I've been able to learn what I can make a machine do and what I can't to keep myself out of trouble the best I can, to keep the breakage down and problems with traps to a minimum, but still be able to throw targets at angles and speeds that very few target setters will ever do, to be honest with you. So I'll do stuff that a lot of target setters won't do because they're scared of getting traps in trouble and causing breakage and causing problems for the trap technicians or the range owners, whatever it may be. But I'm also a believer when I go into a new venue to set targets for the first time, I'm looking to see by where the trees are shot up, where targets have been landing. A rabbit, I never see any sign of a rabbit being shot on a certain station. I'm trying to do things that a local target setter has never done before on that venue. I'm trying to be different, and that's what I'm about. I don't want to do the same thing. If it is, it's just, well, there's no sense in hiring me in as a target setter if you want the same thing you said every week. If you don't want to have different levels of difficulty, then why not let's just set the targets on Monday, let everybody practice them Monday through Friday. On Saturday, we'll keep score and decide who wins. What's the difference?
Yeah.
I'm just not for that. I'm back to it's your ability to read the target presentation, what the target's doing, and execute a plan to be able to hit that target. And I think a lot of shooting instructors fail to teach shooters how to read targets, which I think is one of the most helpful things there is in our sport for being successful, is reading the target, where the best place to attempt that target at, where the second bird of the pair is going to be after you attempt the first one at the spot you chose, and being able to go right to that spot. I mean, a lot of target setters are hung up on, a lot of instructors I see hung up on leads and gun fit and hold points, but I really don't care where that gun comes from. You can hold it over your shoulder like a dove hunter, as long as you know where that gun needs to be at the time you pull the trigger. That's all I care about. Which goes back to reading where you attempt that target at, what the sight picture needs to be at that point. That's the only thing that matters. And I just think that's a big part of being successful. And I think the good shooters have learned that, and that's what makes them successful. But I'm pretty adamant about if you're going to a major event, what NCAA qualifies as a major, such as a regional U.S. Open or Nationals, then you should have a level of difficulty that you don't normally see. That's my opinion. I don't think you have to be stupid. I don't think true pairs ought to be so quick can't get a fair shot off at second bird. I don't think that's the way to make them difficult or provide quality, but I think that being able to see an abnormal amount of gap being lead due to speed of the target is a part of it. You should see somewhere on a course, as well as, I'm all for throwing in novelty targets, whether you're bouncing a rabbit over the water or throwing a batu on the water, skipping, just something to break the monotony up of a round to make some stations fun, by all means. But I think overall, in a perfect world, winning score somewhere now 92 to 94 on a major is perfect. If somebody breaks out, shoots 96, 97, they've done what they were capable of doing, and they had a really good day, and that's great. But just stacking this field up at 96s and 99s and all these 100 straight shot on sporting days, especially in majors, that's a crock of crap, Rick's wise.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you alone on that topic. Sorry I took so long.
Talk about, you mentioned it a couple of times, actually a few times, quality of targets. Just tell me your definition of a quality target.
Well, Justin, I don't know that is, I don't know I'm capable of describing it, to be honest with you. I don't know how you describe quality. I can tell you that, a house pairs at 10 yards with a spreader choke is charity type targets. And that kind of target has its place, but it's not at a major. It's not at a Georgia State championship unless you do one or two stations like that between 2 or 3 courses to be able to just, like I say, make a station fun. But, getting a steady diet of that or trying to, let me give you an example, back up a little bit. How about say a 10 or 12-year-old starting out on baseball? Would you expect him to go out on a major league baseball, professional baseball field and shoot and hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball?
No.
There's a reason he starts in T-ball, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Same way for, it's in any sport. They start off somewhere. Well, our sport allows you never shot a gun before to attend the U.S. Open. There's no way we can satisfy him and satisfy the top shooters in the same course at the same given weekend. It's impossible.
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. For sure.
That's what we're doing. If you're a range owner and you're trying to satisfy all of them, it's not going to happen. So you try to find a happy medium to some extent, but I think the industry needs to be more informative on what a major is designed for. And I think that the industry needs to be more informed that just because you shot a 95 on your local course last weekend, if you go to a major championship and don't shoot a 95, you shouldn't be unhappy. And that's what a lot of shooters' mentality is. They attend a U.S. Open or a state championship or whatever they attend, a major event, and first thing they say, well, I haven't picked up a gun in 3 months. Well, why is it my fault you shot a low score as a target setter? You didn't put the effort in to even practice or try to get better, but you showed up and you want to blame me as a target setter why you didn't have a good time because you didn't shoot 90%.
Yeah. You're
fooling yourself. And that's happening a lot. And I understand it is the entertainment business, but again, I think the level of difficulty for different type shoots is the way it should be. And again, I can't say that I can explain to you. I can show you in person, but I don't know that I can explain to you quality. But you can pretty much look at the scoreboard whether I'm even attending a shoot, and when you see it, D-class shooters shooting 88 to 92s, and there's 10 people stacked up on 98s and 99s. It wasn't much to that shooting for quality and Rick's eyes.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. You've always been a person that has had the ability to know what the sport needs or what the sport could benefit from, and I've bounced off ideas, off of you before. It's almost like you always have the answer. What is this sport in need of, or what can we do to make it more exciting and more engaging for people?
There's probably a couple things. I think we're doing a pretty good job right now by adding more entertainment after the day's shoot, such as the make or break shootouts. I think that's a great experience. It's fun for everybody. I think what we've lost over the years, unfortunately, is in today's world, everybody's busier than normal. It seems like, in the early days, and I'm talking late 90s, all right on up until the early 2000s, mid 2000s, well, I guess 2000, say mid 2000, it really started changing, or around 2000, somewhere between 2000 and mid 2000. It started changing where the shoot-offs, it used to be when a prelim got over on Friday, everybody was there to watch the shoot-offs on Friday afternoon. On Friday night, we did right after shoot-offs, we did the awards for that event. It was, everybody was there. Everybody was clapping. It was rewarding for you. You might not have won anything but a plaque. But the crowd, it was more rewarding for get your name called out in front of 150 people than it was the money or the trophy that you were awarded. And the same thing for Sunday night. When you attended a state championship and you were crowned a state champion, there was 300 people there clapping and praising you for your accomplishment. Now it's embarrassing for a range owner to even do an award ceremony on Sunday night because you got 10 events to give awards away for, and you got 25 people there. You just feel like a fish out of water, calling names out, and there's nobody there. And I think we've lost that over the years, and I think that was a big part of the excitement of that when you did win your class or placed in your class, getting your name called out. I personally think that took a lot away from it. I'd like to see that come back. I don't know how we could get it back because everybody's always ready to go home on Sunday after being there, especially now that we're there for sometime 5 to 7 days instead of, we used to might arrive not to Friday morning to shoot a prelim on Friday afternoon. We shoot the main on Saturday and Sunday, and then we'd leave Sunday night. So it wasn't, we were on the road 2 nights. Sometimes we drove in on Saturday, shoot the main event on Saturday, and spend one night and shoot on Sunday and go home. So it wasn't that missing home as much as it is now. And I think that's created a lot by everybody wanting to get home on Sunday night early. But I think that's just one part of it that we've lost. I don't know what all the sport needs, to be honest with you. I'd like to see, I'm excited. I hope sometime within the next 24 months we will get electronic scoring so you can see live scoring as it plays out. Even though if you're not at the event, you can follow shooters along, see how they're doing at certain stations versus how everybody else did on certain stations. I think that'd be exciting. I think that'd be good for the sport, for everybody to be able to see that around the country, how that plays out. It's surprising we haven't got to that point yet, but hopefully we'll see that in the near future. Little things like that. Other than that, I think that, we are doing as good a job as we can do with the masses that we're trying to accommodate as the events are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, in 95, 99, I guess it was, 98, 99, I recall the U.S. Open at the Meadows Gun Club in Georgia. They had 600 people, and it was, everybody was talking about how in the world they could handle that many people, and the range owners were worried to death how they were going to pull that off. Now 600 people won't get you a good state shoot on those anymore. It's just it's grown and it's good for the sport, but it's just a busy time at shoots now with all different events. So that where it used to be you'd only shoot one event a day, there was a lot more camaraderie and a lot more socializing, sitting around having a beer in the afternoon or whatever it may be. Where now everybody's pretty much worn out after shooting events during the day, so they're ready to get back home or back to the motel. And I think that's taking some away from it. But, what's the latest and greatest coming along? I don't know what that's going to be, Justin, right off, to be honest with you. I would like to see the classification system fixed. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. I don't like to complain about something I don't have a fix for. If I'm going to complain about something, normally I can tell you what I think to do to fix it, but that's a tough question. But I think if we could get the classes more competitive among themselves, then we would see everybody having more fun at events because they're not shooting for just because it's a shoot they're there to attend. They're shooting to be competitive, and that's what I'd like to see more of in our sport personally at competitions anyway.
Yeah. Well, those are all good points for sure. I don't know that we'll ever change the fact that people leave and don't stay. I mean, I think that's done and gone,
Yeah, I agree with you. I hate it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Classification, I think that's a good topic, I don't know how to fix it. And you said you don't know. I don't know if anybody really knows how to fix it. I think it's going to have to take a combination of thoughts and ideas combined together to come up with something, some way to fix it. But, I
don't know that, there's just so much going on and so much demand now, with the if you look at the cost of putting on a shoot, Justin, if we could just cut out trappers, we could cut out all the amenities of, my Saturday night and dinner for the Gator Cup would cost me $30,000. If we were just some of the stuff that we could cut out, we could add a lot of more money back to the events. But, as we've grown and as clubs, and I'm just as guilty as the rest, I probably put more back into a shoot and spend more money hosting a shoot than anybody I know of for details that I spend, whether it's gravel or whether it's mowing grass. Right now I'm mowing 100 acres a week, just getting ready for the Gator Cup because I want it to look the best I can make it for that event. Yeah. But the bottle of water that we provide on the course that's expected by the range owners now, where there was no such thing in before. You might be lucky if you found a water cooler with cone cups at one, but it used to be, all that's the added expense that we have to do now that, it could be a lot of more money put back in the sport in prizes or monetary, whether it's guns or cash, whatever it may be. But, in a perfect world, if we could eliminate some of those expenses and add that money back to the shoots, I think it would be a lot better for the shoots, Justin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everything you've touched on has been valid,
we keep trying. It's my livelihood. It's all I ever done, really, and it's some type of shooting. Everything I do involves around a shotgun shell. If I don't have a shotgun shell, I can't sell you a trap because you don't need it. If you don't have a shotgun shell to use it, I can't take you hunting of any kind. I can't throw clay targets for you. So, something to do with a shotgun shell and mostly clay pigeons I'm involved with every single day, and I love every minute of it, and I want to see the sport continue to grow in masses and quality, but I really would like to see more quality in shoots and less volume of shooters is not my objective, and I would like range owners to really be focused more on quality at events and less on how many people they can pack in it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And whether that, I don't know how we change that either, but we're growing at a rapid pace for all the different events we're coming out with and all the people that's attending, which is really good for the sport. But it's just a lot of ground it takes to put on a shoot anymore.
Yeah.
And it's outgrowing a lot of really good clubs. There's a lot of good clubs in this country that I've worked at or shot at in the past that will never can't even have a state shoot now because of the number of shooters and the number of events, more or less, has expected that these shoots have not allowed them to grow due to they didn't want to make the investment or they didn't have the room to do so if they wanted to. They just don't have the land to be able to accommodate that many people. So, it's kind of sad in one way, but, as it says, life goes on and things change. And, back to the target setting, I'll touch on back just a little bit. The other thing that has changed is social media and internet. It used to be where you waited to get a check or get results. You get a letter in the mail about a week after a shoot with the results. You didn't know them because there was no internet to look at. So you didn't know if you had to leave early, you didn't know who won until your hand-typed letter came in the mail with the results. So, you didn't have the communication of what's going on all over the country like you did now. So, social media, everybody will stand behind that and voice their opinion. And some know what they're talking about and some don't, but they like to stand behind that computer and run their mouth about things that they don't like anyway. But, so that's changed a lot, and that's been tough for range owners and target setters to try to, as when I get hired as a target setter, I'm representing that club. I'm paid to try to make that club be the best it can be that given weekend. And if I'm not doing a good job or if I'm making shooters unhappy, then that range owner and that club owner's not happy with me. Don't feel like you guys' money's worth. So,
yeah,
it's like treading water, trying to do it right and get rave reviews on social media after the fact. And that's what we do.
Yeah,
attempt to do anyway.
Social media's changed a lot. That's for sure.
Boy.
I mean,
and it's in every aspect of the world, to be honest with you.
Yeah, not just ours, it's in everything. So,
No doubt. No doubt.
All right, Rick.
No
Well,
doubt.
I appreciate you coming on, man. Spending some
Justin,
time with
good
us.
talking to you, and I appreciate you having me on. And I hear you're not going to be able to make the Gator Cup, but I'll see you on the road somewhere.
Yeah, I got to work. That comes first before I get to go have fun. So
I understand. It's amazing how that gets in the way sometimes.
oh yeah, but I wish you the best. I wish I could be there, and I know it'll be a good one. So everybody go and have fun.
We're excited. Just real quick, it's been advertised that event's been full, but we get cancellations every week of 2 or 3 shooters. So just email Score Chaser and request to be on the waiting list, and feel sure you'd probably get in. So just make plans to come, and there's always no shoes right the day of the shoot. If you don't mind shooting whenever I have a spot, we'll be glad to plug you in and what's available.
There you go.
Just wanted to mention that while I thought of it.
All right. Well, Rick.
Thank you, Justin.
I hope it's good, and I'll be keeping up Score Chaser for sure. And have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, man.